What is your opinion on these secretive meetings that I hear about of the Bilderberg group that comes time to time in Canada, and they get together I think once a year, random places kind of in the world?
Well, I don't like that, and I don't like the Canadian Conference of Canadian Executives, Tom DeQuino being part of it. I mean, they meet in Banff and behind closed doors to sell out Canadian sovereignty by saying, Canadian business is for sale.
I don't know why they're meeting in the first place. You can't tell me, they can't. Nobody can tell us why. Maybe they're talking about wallpapering the walls. Who knows, right?
Well, they're so secret that they, I don't like to say in general, I don't think any good comes of meetings that are secret. Democracy really thrives in sunshine, and things that are anti-democratic do best under rocks, right? So if you keep things out of the public eye and they're not accountable, that's concerning. Obviously, if you're negotiating a peace agreement, the doors are shut till you come out. I mean, that's a good thing. But generally, people know what's going on. These meetings are so secretive that nobody knows what's going on. And similarly, the Security and Prosperity Partnership meetings, where the only people allowed in the room are governments and business leaders. That's anti-democratic. I don't like things that are anti-democratic.
Bilderberg meetings, have you heard of this?
I've heard about them. I don't know what that is. I mean, I've secret society type meetings, and they discuss. I recall one being at a place where I went with a friend in Ottawa. I'm trying to think of the place, and it was a hotel outside of Ottawa.
Right. Was that just 2 years ago?
Yeah, it was actually. I was up there because one of my good friends was getting married. We went to a Neil Young concert that night, and the next day it was all these people were moving in, security and everything. So it's the Bilderberg conference. So
again, like our previous prime minister, or current prime ministers have attended these meetings and don't really talk about it. Do you think there would be something to be worried about, though?
No, not necessarily. I mean, to put the scenario forward that you're talking about, if the 100 top people in the world invited me to a meeting, do you think I'd turn it down? Probably not.
I've never been invited, so naturally I'm suspicious.
It's an interesting group, but I can't firmly say that I don't know that I know nothing about it. I mean, I've heard what it could mean. I listen to Richard Serrett from time to time on CFRB at give me a time, 10 o'clock at night. I don't know, but I'd certainly like to learn more about it. But it is apparently behind closed doors.
I'm suspicious of those meetings.
Were you ever invited or?
No, they know my views about it.
This was about, I believe in 1996, you attended a meeting called the Bilderberg meeting, and I think you were Minister of Finance at the time. Not many people know about the Bilderberg meeting. I try to speak to people about it and they think I'm crazy or that it doesn't exist or anything like that. Namely because it's not really widespread in media, and in fact a lot of media representatives actually attend the meetings themselves, and they just choose not to disclose the information and context of it. I'm just wondering, in 1996 when you attended, like just details, like I mean, if you could explain like who invited you, why did you go, what were your thoughts on it?
Well, I can't remember who invited me, but I remember going once. The Bilderberg meeting is a meeting of very influential people around the world. Canada at that point was considered a third row basket case. We were in trouble after a highball, and I had to go. I essentially went to Commons Market, went to them and say, look, we're getting our act together, and it worked.
Okay, well, one of the members of the Bilderberg meeting actually... Sorry?
Are you not going to take questions from the floor?
Okay, but just one thing about that Bilderberg meeting is that one of the attendees named David Rockefeller, and when I heard you talking earlier about this global financial crisis that everyone's involved in, and just like Stephen Harper said, that possibly this is going to be as bad or worse than the Great Depression in 1929, and not many of us have actually lived in those times, so we don't know what we're actually facing, but it could be pretty bad. And one of the members of the Bilderberg meeting stated in the Bilderberg meeting that we are on the verge of a global transformation. All we need is the right major crisis, and the nations will accept the New World Order. And this is someone who attended the same meetings as you, and no one really knows about it. In fact, actually, most of the last had attended these meetings too, Stephen Harper, John Cruikshank, and so on and so on. And I spoke to John Turner, a former Prime Minister as well, who didn't attend, and I asked him what he thought of it, and he said very specifically that it's basically a group of businessmen who get together behind closed doors and sell out Canadian sovereignty. He said he didn't like them at all, and he was very skeptic.
Well, it may well be the meeting that I went to. I can't remember if David Rockefeller was there. There was no question of Canadian sovereignty. But what there was a group of people. This was the year that the Wall Street Journal called Canada essentially a banana republic. Said that we were a third world country, we were going down. And I've got to tell you that my first couple of years as finance minister, I did nothing but go around the world basically saying, but Canada was going to turn it around. We did. We did. Within 4 years, we had the best balance sheet of any country in the world.
So what is your opinion of it?
Oh, hey.
What's up, buddy? It's really good. It was really good stuff.
Yeah, I don't know if this is did he come over? And
he told me to because I don't know what it was. He just said that I could ask no more questions. Yeah. Again, that's what his chief of staff did.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah, I think it was felt there was a little bit of an attack on him, to be honest.
Yeah.
And so he said, if he's going to ask him more questions, that he would just have the smart leave.
Okay, if you're an RCMP officer, could you care to explain why Canadian tax dollars are going to protect this guy instead of putting him behind bars? He's conspiring with international bankers in secret who openly talk about world domination via major world crises. And when confronted about all of this, he acts like a child and has his chief of staff remove my microphone. Is this any way for a Prime Minister of Canada to act? Surely this is newsworthy. Good thing CTV was there to catch the footage.
University of Waterloo, an unusual send-off. While most students kick off Reading Week with a party, a large crowd gathered to get a chance to talk with former Prime Minister Paul Martin. CTV's Nicole Lampa is here with this story. Nicole, what did they discuss?
Kyle, given that Martin was a former finance minister, the economy was the key discussion.
Every country is focusing on what can they do in order to stimulate their national economy.
A worldwide problem is being felt by these students.
What can we as the West?
Matthew Castle asks a former Prime Minister and Finance Minister how to survive the economic downturn, not just as a student, but also as a future leader.
As a young person, I'm going to be inheriting this economy. I'm going to be inheriting the budget deficit that Stephen Harper's now racking up. And I think it's important for me to be informed so that I can make good choices and make good decisions.
And when you have someone that has done it in the past and affected change, be it whether you agreed with the way he did it or not, it really inspires you to do something.
Others feel the same way.
It's just interesting to hear someone of this caliber speak on these kinds of issues.
He can tell us a lot about what's going on. He has a ton of perspective. He was a fantastic politician.
In my experience is that you can't judge these crises, and they are normally worse, which is why you've got to as a country, keep your balance sheet in surplus, and you've got to make sure you have the room to maneuver.
The economy wasn't the only topic. Martin also talked about Canada's treatment of Aboriginals, our role in Africa, and Afghanistan.
For Matthew, these are issues he doesn't mind tackling.
I think when times are tough, that's when you're most needed. And if I would have something to contribute, I'd be more than happy to do it.
Now the talk was put on by UW's Federation of Students and a Canadian youth group.
This is one of the most disgraceful pieces of journalism I've probably ever seen. Nicole Lampa refused to talk to me on camera, and later after watching the program she put together, I asked her why she didn't at least give the name of my youth group who arranged the whole event in the first place. She told me she was under the impression that my youth group's name was A Canadian Youth Group, and then quickly hung up the phone. In fact, the most coverage that my cause had received from the whole event was published in the local Waterloo paper called The Record, where it was written that, and of course there was that one passionately idealistic student who grilled Martin relentlessly until the microphone practically had to be wrestled from his hands. By the way, I'm not a student at the University of Waterloo. I can't afford it. But again, poor journalism.